Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Review. I am Phil Hargis. It is good to see you guys again after a brief week off last week. I mean, we knew you guys had basically all of your playoff spots wrapped up and everything. This is my favorite time of the year. This is fantasy football playoffs. This is where all the excitement begins. Hopefully, all of your teams, through our expert wisdom and advice, have made the playoffs, and you guys are ready to start kicking some butt and winning all that money, winning all the trophies, and taking down all those titles. We want to hear all about it here on the show. It is fantasy football playoffs are starting right now, or you're hopefully going to be wrapping them up. But let's get started here with our guest here, Robbie Castro. It's good to have you in the house again. Good to see you again. This is the first time we've done a show together in quite a while.
It's been a long time, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It's good, and we have a special guest in the house, my friend Matt Vaughn. Matt is a fellow fantasy football competitor of mine. And we're in the playoffs, actually in a game this weekend together against each other, so we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But Matt, good to have you on the show.
Glad to be back. Last time I was here, we were talking about Jerome Bettis about 10 years ago.
And that's how long we've been doing the show for, is 10 years. That just goes to show you, Jerome Bettis was actually playing in the NFL when the last time Matt was on the show. So Matt, it's good to have you back in the studio. We normally keep him away because he's a Dallas Cowboy fan, and the Dallas Cowboys have basically had bragging rights against the Redskins for the last 10 years. Actually, the last 20 years. But Merry Christmas to the Cowboys, especially your cheerleaders. They're great.
Yeah, we love them.
All right, man. So how are your fantasy teams doing? You drafted pretty well this year, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm in 3 leagues this year. I'm in the playoffs in 2 out of the 3 leagues. And as you mentioned before, we're playing this week. And I got Rashard Mendenhall running all over you.
Now, as we tape the show, Rashard Mendenhall is running all over me. Hopefully not, but we'll see what happens here in about 20 minutes. But, we will get into our team matchups here a little bit later on. Robbie's stolen that, so he can cheat later on. He's already starting to formulate his opinions. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and, one of the things you want is the hot players going to the fantasy playoffs, Robbie. I mean, you want the guys not to start off well that carried you and got hurt, like Fred Jackson or Matt Forte. You want the guys that are getting hot right now going into the playoffs. I mean, starting off with the quarterbacks, here are some of the guys that come to your mind. Obviously, you got your Aaron Rodgers and your Drew Brees are the guys that the quarterbacks that are going to carry you to those fantasy titles.
I look at a guy like Eli Manning, who's going to put a lot of points on these upcoming next.
Good matchups against the Cowboys.
Yeah, exactly. On Sunday night, perfect matchup for him. I also like Tom Brady. Guy's just Mr. Do Everything. He's been playing really, really well these last 3 games. They won three in a row. They're playing against the poorest defense in the Washington Redskins on Sunday. Look for him to have a big game and jolt whoever has him in playoffs.
And Matt has a guy. He has Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's the guy that's kind of turned up the heat here in the last couple of weeks. Matt could certainly talk to that. This is a guy you've been pumping for a while on the show. But Matt, how great is this guy been?
He's doing great. Yeah, Matt Ryan. He's got great wide receivers, a tight end, the running game strong. And, I also got Aaron Rodgers going to my other league. And you got to like what he's doing.
Yeah, and that was in the auction league. You could actually go out there and get the best players you want. Right. You got Aaron Rodgers and Ray Rice. Expert drafting strategy. We should actually bring you back for a way on how to build an auction team. But Matt Ryan, going off to Julio Jones and your boy Harry Douglas there, a guy that you're always talking about on the show.
He's been productive, too. I also want to say that Philip Rivers is I think, back, too. So if you benched him the last 5 or 6 games, you might want to start him, obviously this weekend.
Come on, but next one good game, man.
Yeah, you know what? I think he's back. Yeah. We'll talk about that next week. So
I agree with Robbie with Eli Manning. This guy is tearing it up. And he's, I'm the lucky recipient of having Victor Cruz because that guy, he's just doing that little salsa dance all day long.
And that's a very good demonstration of that. We don't usually give dancing lessons. As an added bonus, we brought Matt on here, like Dirty Sanchez, to give a dancing lessons here. But yeah, this is a guy. He's got all of his receivers are back and healthy now, and they have absolutely really no good running game to speak of right now. So it's just aired out Eli Manning, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay, and then we talked about it. We've talked about him on the show before. Tim Tebow for the first 3 quarters. If you start fantasy players by the quarter, this would be the guy you want to have here to start him for the 4th quarter, and then that's all you would want to have. Actually, that might be good format for new fantasy season come up. Start him by the quarters. Anyway, Tim Tebow, obviously a very strong fantasy starter quarterback. Moving on to the running backs here, Robbie. The last couple of weeks, Arian Foster. And Chris Johnson's turning up. We finally, this guy, Chris Johnson, is doing what we expected of him at the start of the season.
Yep, I was on the other end of that. I had the 7th pick and took Chris Johnson 1st overall. And the last 2 games have been great, but where was he the first 10?
Recovering from his hangover from drinking all summer long.
You know what?
Didn't you trade Chris Johnson, Phil?
That wasn't me. I would not have ever traded him because I liked his matchups all season. That was Larry you're talking about, but I know what you're talking about.
I liked LaShawn McCoy. I should have drafted him with the 7th pick. I'm still kicking myself in the rear for that. But
Matt got him in late second round of his league, which is, of course, more of a touchdown-centric league. So maybe not as good with Michael Vick, but obviously Michael Vick did those things. But Ray Rice is the guy that I predicted to be preseason number 1. He's right up there at the top for the season. He's number 5 and one of the hottest running backs. I mean, you knew this guy would be great going into the season.
Yeah, when I'm in an auction league, I try to load up on a couple big studs. And this year I got Aaron Rodgers and Ray Rice, and then built my team around it. Had some lucky picks like Fred Jackson.
Oh.
And I mean, you know, my team is rolling in that league too. So
Fred Jackson and
Fred Taylor. Now
Taylor.
He's another a bit disappointing for my league. This week, if I was saying on Facebook, if I lose that game up, I don't know. I might have to go to his house or something.
It's tough, man.
Yeah.
When you have these guys getting injured.
The guy that scares
suspended.
me is against you. I'm playing this week, and you got Marshawn Lynch going against St. Louis, and that's just it's such a garbage player and a garbage team he's playing, and he's probably going to end up hurting me bad in the playoffs.
You know, Matt, you may say that, but seriously, like all seriously, like one of the reasons why I like to draft those NFC West players is because they played the NFC West 6 other games. I mean, that's a legitimate reason to draft those guys. I mean, who would have known that the San Francisco 49ers defense would be that good? But if you got a chance to put Marshawn Lynch or Beanie Wells against those NFC West defenses, I mean, seriously, or even Steven Jackson. That's why I always like to draft Steven Jackson, because those defenses out west, they've actually ended up proving to be pretty good this year. The Rams' defense is bad, but they're not terrible. Arizona's decent. San Fran's at the top of their game, and Seattle's pretty good. In fact, I picked up Seattle this week to start against St. Louis. I think it's a pretty good play.
I assume so too. You know what? They're 5-7, and if they win this game, which they should, they'll be 6-7, and they're back in the thick of things too in the NFC, because there's 4 or 5 teams that are vying for 2 spots in the wild card, and that's actually up for grabs because the Chicago Bears. No Jay Cutler.
All teams are reeling right now.
Detroit Lions, no Ndamukong Suh this week, and you know they've been
they're undisciplined.
looking horrible.
The Giants have lost 4 in a row, and then they played the
They've
Cowboys
had some
this
tough
week.
games,
So
though. I think the Giants will do well for them.
I'm a little nervous for my Cowboys this Sunday. They play, but if they win, then they pretty much got the division locked down. So this will be that. I think that's the game of the week.
For
Sunday
sure.
night, yeah,
It's a season-defining game for both those teams, for sure.
Yep.
They could still potentially make the playoffs, like you were saying, but if the Giants lose, they're basically done. Dallas wraps it up. I mean,
Yep.
like Matt was saying.
Sure.
Let's move on. I mean, some of these guys are kind of a surprise here on the list. I mean, Kevin Smith has obviously done a great job stepping in for Javon Best since he's been out. And, you know, Sean Green kind of had his coming out party at the end of that Redskins game.
But this is the time of the year, though, when you start looking at who you want to start drafting for next year. So guys like Roy Halou, he's coming on. I mean, he's had 2 really good games in a row. You know, that's what I start
How
looking
about Fred
at.
Jackson last year is a perfect example.
Absolutely.
Or
Yeah.
DeMarco Murray this season too.
Absolutely. So.
And Robbie will remember a couple years ago, he was all over Sean Green because he had an awesome end of a couple years ago.
Yeah, he did. Oh yeah, in the playoffs too against the Patriots. He had two touchdown runs. I thought the guy was gonna be unbelievable, and then last season doesn't do anything. So.
Yeah, but Matt's right, though. The guys that have a tendency to turn things on at the end of this season will be the guys you want to draft that people may have forgotten about. Because they'll look at their numbers, their aggregated numbers for the entire season, think, all right, yeah, Halou had a kind of a mediocre season. But if you, like Matt's saying, if you remember how well he did at the end of last season, he would be the guy you could get in the 9th round, like when you were drafting Fred Jackson
Absolutely.
or Marshawn Lynch this year. That's a great example. This tight end stuff, it just makes me sick. I got to talk about it real quick. Rob Gronkowski has 7 touchdowns in the last 4 games. I mean, you're lucky if you can get 7 touchdowns from a tight end in a season. He has 7 in the last 4 games. This guy's a beast, isn't he?
He's the Gronk. He's the best. I mean,
Gronk.
I don't like
Yeah.
talking about tight ends. Fred Davis, this guy.
Yeah, but you know he's one of those guys. I mean, it's hard to get mad at him because he's a guy that you kind of pulled out of the middle of nowhere, and he carries you to your helps propel you to a fantasy championship. I mean. You know, it's tough. I mean, it's not like you're drafting in the 1st round, is what I'm saying. But anyway, you guys, we do have a couple of injury situations we've got to handle here. Juliet is patiently waiting for us there in the news center, and she has a very comprehensive news report to deliver to you regarding some of the fantasy injuries you might be keeping an eye on. So, Juliet, we're ready for you, baby. Go ahead and take it away.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Fantasy Sports Review News Center. I'm Juliet Delp with your official NFL news update. Vikings running back Adrian Peterson was back at practice today and will suit up this Sunday. Peterson hurt his ankle a few weeks ago and now feels up to game speed. The Vikings take on the Lions, and even though the Lions have a great run defense, start Adrian Peterson on your fantasy team. Laurent Robinson of the Cowboys might miss this Sunday's showdown with the Giants. Robinson hurt his shoulder last week against the Cardinals and is questionable. Monitor his status closely before picking your starters. Andre Johnson is a game-time decision this week, according to head coach Gary Kubiak. Johnson's hamstring is very sore, and it appears he is likely to miss Sunday's game against the Bengals. Jeremy Maclin and Michael Vick of the Eagles will play this weekend against the Miami Dolphins. Both these players have missed 3 games. The Dream Team only won 1 game with Vince Young as their starter. Expect to start both players because they are still dynamic, and the Dolphins' defense has been known to give up big plays. Thank you for joining me in the Fantasy Sports Review News Center. I'm Juliette Delp. Now back to Phil and Robbie in the studio.
Juliette, thanks for the news report. She survived Zinzi, apparently. Just like some of these players are surviving the fantasy season. I mean, it's attrition all season long. It's tough to survive, and you want your players to do well. And we're glad that Juliette is alive and still with us. Good to see her again. Robbie, I have a little game for you to play here. Matt and I are playing this week, and I put both of our teams on a piece of paper here, Team A and TB, and listed both of our lineups and our benches here. I mean, this isn't necessarily who we're starting, but probably who we're starting. And I want you to look at both of these teams. And in a touchdown-only scoring league, no performance, no 1 per 10. It's just basically you're rewarded based on touchdowns and 100-yard games.
Wow.
For all intents and purposes, you're going to be rewarded for touchdowns. Which one of those teams do you think has the edge this week?
Team B.
Team B?
Yeah.
Tell me what. Just compare and contrast.
All right.
Start at quarterback. You got Ryan and Romo.
Yeah, I'll start at the quarterback. You have a guy like Tony Romo going against the New York Giants on Sunday night. He's got to make his mark. I think they step up and they win that ball game. And I think Romo has a lot to do with that. I think he's going to throw for 3 touchdowns, maybe 1 or 2 interceptions, but you're looking to
McCoy and Mendenhall are touchdown machines.
Well, I'll tell you what about LeSean McCoy is that they're playing against the Miami Dolphins. Yes, I think that he's going to have a big game, but will he find the end zone? It's going to be kind of tough because the Dolphins really haven't given up that many touchdowns to running backs
2 rushing touchdowns this
season. Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. So I think that hurts him a little bit.
But it's McCoy, though, we're talking about.
I know.
Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis.
But Frank Gore's been doing well, and Michael Turner's been an offensive machine.
How do you think McCoy's going to do against the Redskins? They're pretty porous.
Well,
he'll do great against the Redskins.
I would hope that you.
Excuse me, Wes Welker. Wes Welker is playing against the Redskins. I
was going to say
McCoy's playing against the Cowboys.
That's a tougher matchup.
He's jumping ahead, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I think. And you look at the wide receivers
on that team.
Look at the wide receivers. I like AJ Green. Brandon Lloyd, I don't think finds the end zone, and
he scores every week though. Believe it or not.
You know what?
Against Seattle, that's a tougher matchup for him.
I like AJ Green.
He's a beast.
Phil, the key to the victory is definitely LeGarrette Blount. I mean,
LeGarrette Blount's a tough running back.
He's gonna get some garbage touchdowns, and he's gonna run all over you.
Robbie can probably tell by the way I talked about LeGarrette Blount that he isn't on my team.
He's got Victor Cruz.
You can probably guess whose team is whose here.
Oh, I knew whose team was who.
Because LeGarrette Blount would never be on my team.
In terms of Marshawn Lynch and LeGarrette Blount, I'll give the edge to Marshawn Lynch.
That's a huge edge to Marshawn Lynch. It's not even close.
And then with Wes Welker, I'll give the edge over.
I should have shut my mouth right now. I'm just mushing everything.
I'm guessing Williams from the Broncos.
How about the defensive matchups?
Well, I like the Niners.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously
it's hard
the best
not to
defense in the
like
NFL.
Yeah,
but Seattle's not bad too. I mean, Seattle's not bad too. So
the fact is, Welker's the number 2 receiver. Cruz is the number 3 receiver in the league. You got the number 1 running back, LeSean McCoy, the number 1 kicker, and the number 2 defense. It's a no-brainer.
Akers is the number 1 kicker?
Absolutely.
He is the number 1 kicker.
I thought Janikowski was.
Nope. San Fran can't score touchdowns, dude. What do you think? Michael Crabtree's going to score touchdowns all of a sudden?
I thought they give it to Josh Morgan more in San Fran. you're tech boy.
I know, man. You're all about Vernon Davis. All right, man. Well, we have about a few minutes left here on the show. We actually have about half the show left to talk about matchups for this week.
Yes.
So Matt wants to know, Robbie, how Cleveland and Pittsburgh is. The game is going on right now while we tape the show. How badly is Pittsburgh going to blow out Cleveland?
I don't think they are.
Really?
No.
A divisional game. It's going to be
I think it's going to be a tough game.
You have some inside information on that?
No. I'm just like every other person.
As the game is, we know it's 3-0 right now. Cleveland. Is that all we know?
Information. No, I right now. I mean, I predicted it'd be a low scoring game. Would go under the post total.
2 decent defenses.
Yeah, just and it's really cold in Pittsburgh, so.
The poor little football players are getting cold up there.
I'm just saying they're
getting cold. You want to borrow Matt's hat?
I want to. I think he's got lice.
Big Ben's used to that cold weather. He played in Ohio, didn't he?
Yeah, he says cold bathrooms in Pittsburgh too.
Yep.
No, but I think it's an under game. I don't even want to talk about the games. It's so pathetic.
But who's going to be the big offensive producer there? Is it going to be Mendenhall? Is it going to be Colt McCoy? Is it going to be Cribbs?
I think it's going to be Lamar
Mike
Woodley.
Wallace?
He's going to have 2 touchdowns in the game.
Who is?
Lamar Woodley.
Lamar Woodley. Okay,
on
your call.
defense.
Yeah, that's a great prediction, Rob. I'm glad we have you on the show to offer up this type of insight.
I think Roethlisberger will play well. I think he will.
Okay, man. Let's go right off to the hometown team here. We just started talking about Matt was getting excited when he started talking about Wes Welker against the Redskins. Is Wes Welker going to light up going to light up the Redskins?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
Gronkowski's going to get at least 1 touchdown.
No Laurent
Do you think
Landry.
Shanahan is going to allow Gronkowski to score 3 touchdowns against him?
Last time they played the Patriots, Joe Gibbs allowed the Patriots to score 60 points. So
This is Mike Shanahan we're talking about.
Oh,
Joe Gibbs
whoa.
was.
I forgot Mike Shanahan's brought a lot to the table this season in terms of offensive and defensive play. I mean, his 2 best offensive players are suspended. That's great discipline right there. I'm just saying. I think I will tell you this. Tom Brady's going to light it up.
Okay, final score on the game.
I think it's going to be 31-14.
Matt?
35-7.
35-7. I'm going to go Patriots 20, Redskins 13. It's going to be close and low scoring. Because the Redskins can play defense.
All right.
I mean, they lost offensive players,
I know. No, but no Laurent Landry.
which means, of course, that they might struggle to score. And Laurent Landry, he's been missing for a while.
The defensive line is going to be key for the Redskins.
Phil, what was the Jets score last week with the Redskins?
That was a fluke thing at the end of the game, dude. It was close until that point. Okay, let's move on to our other hometown team here, the Indianapolis Colts, as they do their little battle march here towards Andrew Luck, going to Baltimore. Basically, the best of the AFC versus the worst of the AFC. Can you start Indianapolis Colts? I mean, we actually had this discussion here. I want to get Matt's thoughts on this because I know you're a huge Reggie Wayne fan. I know you're a huge Reggie Wayne fan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This is a guy that I heard them talking about this on Sirius XM Radio the other day, and I think this is a guy you can actually legitimately consider waiving at this point.
Absolutely not. I start Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne.
I want next. It's your turn next, Robbie. So
I start Wayne in a 4 wide receiver league, and he gets me 12, 15 points. He's got some good
You
upside.
want 20 points from those guys, though.
Not for my 4th wide receiver.
So he's a 4th wide receiver that you drafted as your first. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's better guys out there on the waiver wire than you can get for Reggie Wayne.
Reggie Wayne, say it 4 times.
If you
fast.
say it one more time, you're going to get a
Reggie
wedgie.
Wayne, Reggie Wayne, Reggie Wayne, Reggie Wayne.
So eventually, so
You're
would you
amazing.
keep him or waive him? That's all I want to know.
I'd keep him.
You would keep him?
I play him.
Dan Orlovsky's hot. He's threw for 370 yards.
Against Baltimore, you're going to play him?
I'd start him, yeah.
They're going to get garbage time.
You guys are crazy.
Whatever. I'm playing him this week.
Cardinals put up 30 points.
I can think of
with the
100
Ravens.
guys I'd start before Reggie Wayne this week.
I'm talking in a deep league here.
Yeah.
I start 4 wide receivers in that league. He's the 4th one.
Seriously.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
He.
you're gonna start him against
I
Baltimore.
would start him. And you're gonna start Williams from the Broncos. Or
No,
who's it?
the Titans. You
Oh,
don't even know
Titans.
his first name,
Oh,
so don't even
wow.
talk about him if you don't know who his first name is. But since you're bringing him up,
Demarcus
why don't we go ahead?
Thompson,
Why don't we go ahead and talk about New Orleans against Tennessee?
Oh man, you're putting me on the
Since
spot right now. Chris
the
Johnson's got a big game. Has a big game. I think the Titans play the Saints really tough.
Titans. The Saints
playing
have this
great.
game wrapped up, you guys. And
Why?
The Titans have the Saints have their playoff situation wrapped up.
Okay.
The Titans are in a must-win situation.
Right. I think the Titans come out pretty strong. They don't win the game, but they do well, and they keep it close. And Chris Johnson's stepping up, and Matt Hasselbeck's playing great.
And you're telling me to bench Reggie Wayne, and you're benching Marquise Colston?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I am benching him in favor of Damian Williams.
Ooh.
I'm glad I'm playing you.
I'm sure you will be, but I can still put in Stevie Johnson though instead. All right, so here's
Stevie Johnson.
Here for my wide receiver 4, Robbie. This is the guy I can choose from: Stevie Johnson, Marquez Colston, or Damian Williams. And you've never even heard of Damian Williams, so I don't even know how you get.
I've never heard of Marco Colston.
He had like 60 weeks, 60
Is that Marcus
yards.
Colston's brother?
He had like 60 yards last week.
He has those guys all have the exact same number of fantasy points this year in your league, about 25 for touchdowns in 100-yard games. That's all I'm saying. I mean, know your rules.
I think you start Aaron Hernandez, to be honest.
Aaron Hernandez.
Oh yeah.
Against the Redskins.
Oh yeah.
Well, there you go. Robbie's giving you some advice.
I get the vulture.
Who you gonna bench?
Gronkowski's
Who you
the
gonna bench
vulture.
off that team?
I think you might bench Deion Branch.
Or LeGarrette Blunt.
Yeah, bench Blunt.
No way.
I
He's
dare you to
gonna.
bench.
No
I dare
way.
you to
He's
bench
been
No way.
talking crap about him. He's going to come back and beat Phil.
All right, man. Let's move on. The next, basically, so New Orleans and Tennessee. I think you're going to start all your key players in that game, regardless. I can't think of anybody you'd want to bench specifically. You're not going to bench Jimmy Graham. You're not going to bench Breeze. You're not going to bench Colston. Probably.
Sproles is nice PPR.
Unless you're me and you're just loaded at receiver. And Tennessee only has a couple of players you're going to start anyway. I mean, maybe Hasselbeck. I mean, would you start Hasselbeck over Eli Manning this week?
Oh no. Eli's
No.
going to tear the Cowboys up.
All right, man, let's move on. Kansas City and the Jets, let's not move on to that one. Philadelphia and Miami, this is an exciting fantasy game, you guys. This offers a lot of value for some potential guys out there to have some pretty good games.
You know what?
And Vic is back. You know, you're talking.
I know, I talked about
you heard the
Vic.
injury report. You wrote the injury report.
I did. I did. And you know what? They're gonna have a good game passing the ball, not rushing the ball. Dolphins have a good rush D. I like Vic to come out. You know, a lot of short passes early, get his feet wet. And you know, he's also capable of rushing for 50, 60 yards. So you got to start him.
Wildcat versus Wildcat, basically.
The Dolphins don't play the Wildcat anymore.
That's true.
Brandon Marshall will probably have a pretty good game.
He's been having great games. Matt Moore's playing well.
Philly's defense is pitiful, so he should do all right. I'm just hoping McCoy gets a lot of those catches out of the backfield there and gets me a couple touchdowns against you.
Yeah, the point for receptions certainly won't hurt me in your league, and you know, I just got to hope there's no touchdowns at all, and that they can keep that trend. But if they're catches, I mean, that would be a totally different story because we know they can't. They're very good at stopping.
Yeah, I think they've only
rushing
given up
touchdowns.
3 rushing touchdowns all season.
Yeah, so it's gonna be tough. I mean, but
I hope it's 4.
But McCoy's the best. I mean, so all bets are off. You know, I mean, we're gonna bench your best running back because they're playing the best defense. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Only Doug Cook would do that.
Poor Doug.
Okay, guys. Tampa Bay and Jacksonville. LeGarrette Blunt, Matt. Tell me what's going to happen.
Oh, my
in
God.
Game.
This
This
guy's-
is a dream matchup for this guy, isn't it?
This guy is a freight train. He's going to get at least 2 one-yard touchdown runs in my touchdown league. And
So I
just,
have 3 rushes for 2 yards
yeah.
and 10 points.
yeah, you better come back on the show next week and tell the score of our game. You better.
Robbie knows how much I hate LeGarrette Blunt.
Yeah.
And Harry Douglas.
I like Harry Douglas, actually. I just hate LeGarrette Blunt.
Well, actually, I think
Beanie Wells.
Josh
I'm kind of warming up to him, though.
Tampa's quarterback's coming back this week, so
He's
hopefully,
not that good, though.
but hopefully it'll free up Blunt a little bit to get some more a little space.
Yeah, they have no passing threats at all.
Yeah.
I don't think they do. What do you think of Tampa Bay's passing game, Robbie?
Not good.
It's not good.
Mike Williams is not the guy that we saw last year.
Not good.
No, 1 year wonder, dude. He'll be good next year. I would draft that guy. It's a good sleeper in the 6th or 7th round next year.
Ooh, maybe like 11 or 12.
No, I think you'd have to get him in the more middler rounds. Okay, here's an interesting matchup for us, guys. 2 playoff contenders, sort of, Houston and Cincinnati. Matt and I are sort of pseudo Cincinnati fans here.
Go Whitworth. Go
jumped
Whitworth.
on the Andrew Whitworth bandwagon here, number 77. Vote for him in the Pro Bowl. We definitely love that guy. But Houston is a team that I love, man. They're exciting. I mean, they have good players, and they're now on their 3rd quarterback. I mean, 2nd quarterback. I mean, this guy Yates. Now that Schaub is gone, who's one of the leading quarterbacks, I mean, they just keep doing what they're doing. They're playing solid defense, and they're still winning their games.
Well, they have the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL. That'll tell you right there. I mean,
And Foster's tearing it up finally.
Yeah,
I had some real doubts on him with his hamstring, but now he seems to really be cranking it up.
he's been doing well.
I think everybody had doubts on him,
I did too.
and Houston absolutely did the right thing by resting him for the first 2 or 3 games of that season, letting Tate manage that workload for him, and they still had those easy matchups. And now he's back full. I mean, they have the 1-2 punch with those 2 guys, man. It's pretty scary stuff how good that team is. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that team in the Super Bowl, even with a guy like Yates.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
That's kind of a stretch.
I still like Baltimore. I mean, that is my
Yates
pick
is
right
going
now.
to New England. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't see them
Maybe
making
Yates
it out of the
next Tom
first round of the playoffs.
We'll see. But Cincinnati, how about Cincinnati? I mean, is this team still playoff bound?
They're kind of floundering, but this is I think their last stand here in Houston.
Yates or Dalton, man? I mean,
Yeah.
tell me you're taking Yates over Dalton?
No, I like Cincinnati for one last stand, and Houston's getting kind of lucky. So I'd say I got Cincinnati in this game.
That is,
I like Houston.
That is a really tough call to make.
I
There.
don't think Dalton's last stand holds up on Sunday. I think it's all about Arian Foster and the defense of the because I mean, like I said, Cincinnati's not seen a defense besides the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they were 0-2 against the Steelers this year. So I don't know, Matt.
We'll see.
Might have put
We'll
a little
see.
wager ski on that game.
Well, they play the Ravens too. I mean, and they lost. You were at
True.
that game.
Yep.
And I mean, what did you see out there? I mean, was that a team that struggled against the Ravens?
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
It wasn't pretty. All right, man. Moving along the list, here in Minnesota, Detroit. This is obviously a pretty good matchup for. This is actually a decision I have to make here. I got a guy like Toby Gerhart. I could start over a guy like Frank Gore or Michael Turner. You think I should do that?
No.
No, Gerhardt's. Peterson's coming back this week, so I think Gerhardt's a bad play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
me
Peterson
too.
is. Because I really didn't know if Peterson was going to be making it back yet or not. But so Gerhardt's a bad play. I picked him up just in case he wasn't. And Turner's groin ended up being a problem. I definitely don't have to worry about Turner's groin anymore. I don't like worrying about groins on this show at all. Let's move down the list here. Chicago and Denver. These are two teams, I think, heading. I think these are two playoff-bound teams here that we're talking about.
I don't think so. I think
somebody's going to be in the wrong direction after this game.
I think Chicago's heading in the wrong direction. I got Tebow fever, and there's no other good teams out in the AFC West.
That's
so,
what I think.
Yeah, I think Denver wins the AFC West. Chicago's fallen off the map, and I think the Giants probably get that last playoff spot.
Robbie, do you agree? Because I think that Chicago is one of those teams that can actually still win with whatever personnel they have.
Chicago wins that game. I don't see Tebow going in and doing well.
It's at Denver, though.
I know. I don't see him
altitude.
playing well, and I think it's that
Caleb
defense.
Haney.
Well, if you look to Tebow's struggles this year, it's been against the NFC Central. So I think that the Bears do wonders on Tim Tebow, get in his face a bunch, and makes it tough for him to pass the ball.
He's 6-1. How's he struggling?
I don't know.
All right, we got to go really quickly here. I want predictions. Dallas and the Giants. Who's going to win? We got to go fast.
Dallas.
Cowboys.
I knew you were going to pick
Giants.
that. Giants. Okay, St. Louis and Seattle. I want to know how many touchdowns Marshawn Lynch is going to have. Robbie, you go first.
1.
2.
All right, I like that. I like the way Matt's thinking.
I don't like it.
And I think it's going to be an exciting weekend. There should be a lot of awesome fantasy football games here. There should be a lot of offensive touchdowns. It should be an awesome week for all your fantasy football teams to score lots of points. And hopefully they are all on your fantasy teams and can propel you to the next week of the fantasy football playoffs. Matt, thank you for coming up here.
No
and
problem,
joining
buddy.
us on the show.
Absolutely.
Good to see you. I'm sorry we didn't get to your stats here that you had saved up. Robbie, good to see you again. And Steve, thank you for directing, and we will see you guys next week. And maybe we'll get to Matt's stats, although I'm going to tear these up and throw them out of here. And we'll see you guys next time on Fantasy Football Review. Goodbye, everybody.
Try to